Alrighty, good evening to those in the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba, the southeastern Bahamas, and the Cayman Islands. Today we are going to be mainly focusing on Tropical Storm Melissa, which has just been named. But for right now, I'm going to be sharing the stream on a couple social media platforms. Make sure I spelled everything right. Okay, yes I did. I think I did. Yes, okay, there we go. So today we're mainly going to be focusing and hi David. Today we're mainly going to be focusing on Tropical Storm Melissa, but we're also going to be discussing Typhoon Fengshen as well as Tropical Storm 97W off the coast of Taiwan. But again, today we're mainly focusing on Melissa. So let's get right into the forecast cone here. No, wait, actually, first, what I do want to say, though, is if you have any questions and you're watching this live stream, as it's live, you can always ask those questions in the live chat, and I will answer them towards the later part of the stream in about 30 minutes or so. So let's get right into the forecast here. This is a very uncertain forecast, but here's a look at the track. So it is expected to continue meandering to the west and eventually towards the northwest as a tropical storm, maybe do a little bit of a wobble towards the east, and then become a hurricane by day 3. It is then expected to start meandering more to the west and become a Category 2 by day 5 here. Then it is expected to start meandering towards the north and then the northeast as a Category 2, potentially making landfall in Jamaica. But again, this cone of uncertainty is very large. 2/3 of the time, it will stay inside of this cone here, this big circle. So there's a lot of areas it could impact. Now, focusing on the actual impacts over the next 5 days, there is a broad area of marginal impacts which does include the entirety of Hispaniola, southeastern Bahamas, and southeastern Cuba, as well as the entirety of Jamaica. This is a majority of rain impacts, although the Cuba impacts there are a majority of wind and rain impacts. Now, looking at the areas highlighted as a slight impacts, these are all going to be in the form of rain over the next 5 days. These slight categories and above on this scale is all going to be in the form of rain, at least during the next 5 days. So there's that slight category for the southern 2/3 of Hispaniola, as well as the eastern half of Jamaica. And looking at the moderate category, there is a moderate category for the southern Dominican Republic, as well as the southwestern peninsula of Haiti, as well as far eastern Jamaica. And now there is the possibility of major impacts for southwestern Dominican Republic and southeastern Haiti there. That is, again, for the potential of devastating flooding. Now, let's take a brief look at the overview of tropics right now across the world. We do have a fair amount going on right now. We have, of course, Tropical Storm Melissa, which we already discussed where that's headed. But we also have a disturbance here, which could become something subtropical south of the Azores Islands here with a 20% chance of tropical development. In the eastern Pacific, we have a disturbance here meandering to the west with a 70% chance of tropical development. Shouldn't really impact anywhere. In the western Pacific, we have 97W, which is likely a tropical storm just to the east of Taiwan, delivering gale force winds to the entire country. That is expected to meander to the southwest, eventually off towards the South China Sea, where it should dissipate. And we also have Typhoon Fengshen here with winds of 75 miles an hour. That is going to be making landfall in Vietnam over the next day or so before it dissipates in the Indochina region. In the North Indian Ocean, we have Invest 93B, which is going to be meandering across India and could develop in the Arabian Sea, where we also have the remnants of a tropical depression 92A here, which is expected to combine with 93B there. Has a 50% chance of tropical development. And in the Bay of Bengal, we have an area of interest here with a 40% chance of tropical development during the next 7 days. Now, in the southwest Indian Ocean, we have Tropical Storm 95S, which is expected to meander to the west there, not really impact anywhere. Now, Chenghe here, this system could become a Category 1 very briefly. It might already be one at this moment, but it is expected to meander to the west and might clip the northern tip of Madagascar there before it meanders towards Mozambique and Tanzania. So we are currently code pink for Tropical Storm Melissa there, but we are also code red for Typhoon Fengshen and 97W. But again, because we're code pink, our update is mainly focusing on Tropical Storm Melissa. So let's take a look at some of these satellite imagery on Melissa. We can see that there is a defined low-level center of circulation right over there. As we can see, though, it's not really covered by a whole lot of convection there. Most of the clouds are off towards the east side, and that's due to some of the shear. It's not really vertically stacked at all. It's just, it's been struggling over the past 12 to 24 hours due to this shear. And we can look at infrared imagery here, and we can see a new burst happening just to the east of the center, but it's really not covering it, so it's going to remain exposed for quite a little bit longer until it can really get some of these thunderstorms bursting over that center. Now, let's talk about waters. The waters are going to be very warm, above 30 degrees Celsius for the entire 5-day forecast and also 7-day forecast as well. And the tropical cyclone heat potential, or also oceanic heat content, is very high. So even though that the system will be stalling, these numbers are very high, so those waters are warm with depth. So even though it's stalling, it's not really going to weaken a whole lot. It's not going to upwell a whole bunch. So that's why the sea surface temperatures are expected to stay very warm throughout the forecast period here. That's not really going to be a problem. Same with relative humidity. Not really a problem at all. The only problem is going to be wind shear. It's going to be fairly moderate over the next few days. But overall, it is expected to intensify over the next 5 to 7 days. I do want to discuss the distance from certain areas in kilometers. It is roughly around 470 kilometers away from the southwestern peninsula of Haiti, maybe around 440 kilometers, and around 440 kilometers away from the southwestern tip of the Dominican Republic. It is roughly around 510 or around 550 kilometers away from Jamaica, roughly around 600 to 700 kilometers away from Cuba, around 800 kilometers away from the Turks and Caicos Islands, roughly 1,000 kilometers away from the Cayman Islands, and around 1,100 kilometers away from the south or western Bahamas. And Miami, Florida, around 1,400 to 1,500 kilometers away. Now, I do want to touch on some of these models here, on what they're showing on that the system will do. The American run develops it fairly quickly, becomes a hurricane very quickly over the next 36 hours, and that's why it gets tugged towards the northeast, towards Hispaniola, before it shreds the system, but it does have time to re-intensify thanks to a jet interaction, and potentially becomes a hurricane or even major hurricane as it speeds off towards the northeast. This is now becoming more of an outlier as more of the models want it to meander towards the west. This is the latest Canadian run. It does get close to Jamaica, but moves west just before it reaches there, becomes a hurricane and then major hurricane before it curves towards the northeast, makes landfall in Cuba, and then speeds off towards Bermuda as still a hurricane or even major hurricane. Looking at the European run here, it does have it becoming a tropical storm or even hurricane south of Jamaica, and then becomes a Category 3 or 4 major hurricane making landfall in Jamaica, weakens some after that Jamaican landfall, but then becomes a Category 4 again as it makes landfall in southeastern Cuba, and then meanders through or plows through the southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, still as a powerful major hurricane, and barely clips Bermuda as a major hurricane still. That's another possibility. Now, looking at the German run, I believe this is the model run that hasn't been doing so well with the system, doesn't strengthen it a whole lot, no. Only becomes a high-end tropical storm, and it stalls just off the coast of the southwestern peninsula of Haiti there. Doesn't become anything too big, but the main focus on this model run is going to be the rainfall. Very high rainfall rates in those areas, above 2 feet. Some areas may see up to 4 feet of rain if this solution verifies. So remember, the strength doesn't always matter. Rain could also, flooding could be a major concern. Now, taking a look at some of the Ensemble members, these are the European ensembles, and you'll see a split on here. You'll see some of these members start curving towards the northeast, towards Hispaniola, but a majority of them meander towards the west, staying to the south of Jamaica there. See, a majority of these do stay south of Jamaica and to the southwest there. A lot more to the southwest than the Hurricane Center is forecasting. And while some of those members speed off towards the northeast, a majority of them move to the west of Jamaica and slam into Cuba as potentially a hurricane or even major hurricane, and then speeds off towards the northeast, towards the Bahamas, and then off towards Bermuda. And we can see that here. Generally, some of the ensembles take it off towards the northeast like that, but a majority of them take it off towards the west. And you can see Nicaragua and Honduras could see some impacts out of this, but as well as Jamaica here. And then generally, though, where it's expected to go near Jamaica and then the southeastern portions of Cuba. Now, looking at the American ensembles, I believe a majority of these, no, it's really spread out evenly, looks like. Roughly half of them move it through Hispaniola as a hurricane, and then the other half meanders through the northwestern Caribbean as a hurricane or even major hurricane. Goes through Cuba, gets a little bit close to Florida there, and plows through the Bahamas, and then moves towards Bermuda. And we can see that on here. This is, that's 10 day, okay. Alright, this is 12 Zulu. So it looks like it's shifted more to the west then, is that correct? Yeah, I guess it's shifted a little bit more to the west now, yep, in this latest run. Yep, so this was the 12Z run, showing majority of them headed towards Hispaniola, but it looks like it's now starting to shift a little bit more to the west there. And I do want to pull up the European AI model on this system. So it does quickly become a solid tropical storm and then stalls just to the south of Haiti there as a hurricane, meanders towards the west, so it does follow the hurricane center cone. Then it threads the needle between Cuba and Haiti, impacts the Turks and Caicos Islands before speeding off towards the northeast there, still as a hurricane. So that's another solution there that follows most closely the hurricane center forecast. Now let's discuss the radar imagery of the system. Now it is starting to move away from the radar range there from Aruba, I believe. So we can't really see a whole lot here, so I'm probably going to move on to the rainfall forecast. Or let's start off with a wind accumulation here. Let's see if this works. Okay, guess not. So in the meantime, I'm going to show you all the Google AI Ensemble members here and what they want the system to do over the next few days. So this would be around Tuesday nights. So that's tonight here as a tropical storm continues meandering westwards, and by the time we get into Friday, this would be Friday morning, it starts meandering towards the northeast, towards Hispaniola, and then makes its closest approach. This would be on Saturday morning as a Category 1 hurricane, before it then starts to get tugged towards the west. This is then Saturday night as a Category 2, Sunday morning still as a Category 2, nearly Category 3, on Monday or Sunday nights as a Category 3, and then by the time we reach Monday morning, it looks like it starts making that northern turn towards Jamaica there. And then going towards next Tuesday morning, the consensus has it making landfall at that time, but as you can see, all these little dots you see spread around are possible areas the system could be, so there's a wide range of uncertainty as to where the system will be on next Tuesday morning. But it does have it as a Category 3, nearly a Category 4 strength system there, making landfall in Jamaica, and then eventually it moves off towards, this would be on Tuesday night, next Tuesday night, as a Category 3. And then going into the 29th morning, moving through Cuba, and then on the 29th night, goes through the southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands before speeding off towards Bermuda there. Okay, let's see if this is working now. Yes, it is. Let's discuss the next 5 days here. Now, this is the wind forecast, the wind accumulation, so maximum wind gust over the next 5 days. This is from the European run, showing wind gusts of up to 100 kilometers an hour for the southern portions of Jamaica, and for parts of Haiti, around 70 kilometer an hour wind gusts there. But as you can see, just to the south of Jamaica, some of those wind gusts nearing 240 kilometers an hour, and that will likely be higher beyond the 5-day range. But if we take a look at the American run, showing some higher amounts near southeastern Hispaniola, with wind gusts of around 100 kilometers an hour for parts of southwestern Dominican Republic, then it speeds off towards the northeast there. The German run here, I don't think that this is going to show as high of winds because it has it as the weaker solution, Only winds of around 90 kilometers an hour for the southwestern peninsula of Haiti. Now let's discuss more of the most impactful threat here, the rain over the next 5 days. And remember, it's going to be much higher than this beyond the 5 day range. But this is the European run. So I did see a lot of questions about Puerto Rico. Looks like around an inch to 3 inches of rain could happen in Puerto Rico. Looking at parts of the Dominican Republic, the northern portions may not see any rain, but the southern portions could see up to 300 millimeters of rain. Parts of Haiti, same story. The northern portions may not see much, but the southern portions there could see up to 400 to 500 millimeters of rain. And looking towards Jamaica here, the eastern portions could see up to 600 millimeters of rain over the next 5 days, with Kingston getting up to 150 millimeters of rainfall accumulations. And just to the southeast, though, those accumulations are above 1,000 millimeters of rain, which is tremendous rainfall rates in 5 days. Now, looking at the American run, it does show some higher totals for the southern portions of the Dominican Republic there, with rainfall totals above 500 millimeters. And then off towards the Turks and Caicos Islands, around 100 millimeters of rain. Puerto Rico does see higher amounts of rain here, up to 5 to 6 inches of rain. But as you can see on this model run, Jamaica gets spared there, only around 50 millimeters of rain. Now let's take a look at the German run here. This one is the one that's been having it stalling near southwestern Haiti as just a weak tropical storm. But as you can see, just a weak tropical storm can have tremendous rainfall amounts, with some of these areas here approaching 600 to 700 millimeters of rain there. And some areas just offshore, some of those accumulation totals are around 800 to 900 millimeters of rain. Puerto Rico doesn't see that much rain, maybe some areas along the coast up to 4 to 5 inches of rain. And Jamaica there doesn't see a whole lot there. They get spared on this model run around 30 to 40 millimeters of rain. So again, there's a wide amount of uncertainty for Jamaica there. From 30 millimeters to 60 or 30 to 600 millimeters of rain could fall. So again, there's a wide range of possibilities for these areas. Now going back to the German run, again though, that's why that area is highlighted for the possibility of major impacts, and that will be for rain. Let's see, now I'd like to discuss the National Hurricane Center, their key messages on the storm. So Melissa is expected to bring heavy rainfall and the risk of significant flash flooding and the danger of landslides to portions of Haiti and the Dominican Republic through the weekend. Hurricane conditions are possible in the southwestern peninsula of Haiti, where a hurricane watch is in effect, and a tropical storm watch is in effect for Jamaica. Preparations to protect life and property should be completed by Thursday. Now, and of course, there's a significant uncertainty in the track and intensity forecast of Melissa. Interest elsewhere in Hispaniola and Cuba should continue to monitor the latest forecast. I would also say the Bahamas there, and the Turks and Caicos Islands, and the Cayman Islands should be watching the system as well, not just Cuba. There, okay. And now discussing the National or the Weather Prediction Center rainfall forecast. This is over the next, let's say, I believe 3 days. Yes, around 3-day forecast here. So this isn't even the 5-day forecast for rainfall totals. They are forecasting for parts, and this is uncertain here. As you can see, this lower confidence area. They don't really know a whole lot about those areas, but parts of southern the Dominican Republic could see 100 to 150 millimeters of rain. That does also include the southern portions of Haiti, but some areas here could see 200 to 300 millimeters of rain over the next 3 days alone. Again, we saw that some rainfall totals could see up to 600 millimeters of rain, but that's beyond the 3-day range. Jamaica here is only highlighted for up to 100 millimeters of rain, but that's likely going to go up as the system gets closer and closer to Jamaica. Alright, now that should be it here for the general overview. Now let's get into some questions here. Could Melissa become a major hurricane? Yes. Looking at the Google AI Ensemble members here, if we look around the peak here, out of around 50 Ensemble members here, let's see, that would be 28, 35 of them have it becoming a major hurricane. That is over half of them. That is up to around a 2/3 chance that it will become a major hurricane. So it's likely to become, or at least a moderate chance of becoming a major hurricane. This would be by Monday night. Okay, next Monday night. Like, based on the ensemble members, it looks likely to be a major hurricane by then. I did want to touch on this forecast here. It is a little bit conservative. Some may think it's a little bit aggressive. In my opinion, it's more on the conservative side here, just because of the uncertainty here. This forecasted peak is 95 knots, so just below major hurricane status. Again, though, it could be higher, it could be lower. It all depends on where the system goes. I will be continuing to post more cones in the coming days. Let's see here. Is Melissa moving towards the United States? It is going to be drifting that direction, but it should start curving towards the northeast. They are not in the cone of uncertainty just yet over the next 7 days. That could change if it starts shifting more to the west. And they could see impacts even if they aren't in the cone. But again, I will continue to post more updates over the coming days. Let's see here. Yes, 97W became a tropical storm. Yes, we can discuss that system briefly. Let's see, here's 97W. Its center is located roughly right around here, and it's been sustained in convection to the northeastern side. And it has been delivering gale force winds to parts of Taiwan there, and you can really see off towards the eastern side how quickly these clouds are moving. Just shows how strong of a system it is there, and just all those gales right there. Now, no rain's really falling in Taiwan, thankfully, but that is expected to change over the next day or so. See, any update on the Western Pacific? Now, I may have forgot to mark a disturbance in the Western Pacific. Let me see if I did or not. Nope. Okay, doesn't look like anything big. Alright, over the next 7 days. I didn't really check. So I just wanted to make sure now that nothing really popped up out of nowhere. The Canadian model was showing something for a while. Doesn't really show it as much anymore. And I don't think the Ensemble members are showing much either. But we can take a look. European Ensemble's not really showing anything, and the American Ensemble's not really showing anything either. And looking at the European AI model, not really seeing a whole lot. There will be a tropical wave moving towards the region by the 25th, it looks like. But other than that, not a whole lot. Yes, Chang'e is moving towards Tanzania there as a tropical storm, nearly a Category 1 cyclone right now. That is going to be approaching the northernmost tip of Madagascar there by around 3 days from now, before the system meanders towards Tanzania. Interesting to see one of those members wanting, what is that, a Category 4 making landfall there? No, Category 3, nearly Category 4 looks like Tanzania. That would be historic, but overall, as you can see, many of the members have it just as a tropical storm. Weak tropical storm is the consensus by the time it approaches there. Maybe even a remnant low or tropical depression. Alright. David mentions Melissa is so tilted it could be considered two separate systems. Yes, the mid-level center and the low-level center are very spread apart right now. So the whole thing is just, if you imagine like a stack of pancakes, whatever, on a plate, pretty much it is so tilted right now where the system is, just due to some of that wind shear there. Let's see. Richie mentions, by the way, Melissa is the biggest threat of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season so far. Yes, it is. Mainly due to the rainfall threat, but it could also be a major hurricane threatening some of these Caribbean islands. So, yes, it is the biggest threat so far of the year. Let's see, any update on the Eastern Pacific? Yes, there is a disturbance there with a 30% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 70% chance over the next 7 days. That should be generally meandering off towards the west, not really impacting any area, any land masses at all. Let's see how it does near Hawaii. Just dissipates south of Hawaii. So not really a concern. And beyond that, not really seeing any signs of life afterwards. Hi, Mammerds. I see you're from the Philippines. Nothing really is impacting you in the Philippines, fortunately. Oh, well, 97 W, yes. Thank you for mentioning that, Richie. If we pull that up, see, that system is expected to meander. Okay, I'll pull it up on this right here. Okay, that right there is 97W. And it is going to be meandering towards the Batanes Islands and maybe the Babuan Islands, but not really much of a concern for parts of Luzon there in the Philippines. It is just expected to meander in the South China Sea and likely dissipate. And I do believe that's due to an increase in wind shear there. And for, I guess, just not a favorable environment in general. Alright. Florida investor asks, is it coming to Florida? Well, okay, that's a little bit far out to know for sure. I do believe that Florida should be watching the system in terms of impacts. I would cut it like right around here, which areas could see impacts and which areas likely don't have to worry about anything. And this line will continue shifting either to the south as we get closer in time. But for right now, anywhere in South Florida and like the southern peninsula and the Florida Keys, all should really be monitoring the situation, the system. But in terms of the cone of uncertainty, it should stay in here. So it doesn't include Florida just yet. In 2/3 of the time, it will stay inside of this cone here. So there is like a third chance that it does not stay in there, and maybe it moves towards Florida, but overall, it should be staying somewhere in here. Oh, Richie, I really like your graphics in my Discord server. Speaking of Discord server, I do have a Discord server if you all want to check it out. I can send a link in the chat there. And if you all are joining, just let me know in the verification channel you joined from the Discord server. Or, sorry, joined from the live stream. So if you have any questions about your local impacts, and let me add it here. Any impacts your city could see over the next 7 days or 5 to 7 days, you can always let me know in the chat, and I will gladly answer. Okay, let's see. Will the dry air and wind shear play a role in messing up Melissa's structure all the way up to its peak? Let's answer that by looking at the halves run, which we should have a new one out, which that will be interesting to check out. Let's see how strong it gets it. Ooh, okay, major hurricane in the next 5 days. Yeah, see what I mean? Alright. Now, where the heck is this? Oh, geez. Okay, hold on. 80 degrees west. Oh, boy. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, hold on. This is 80 degrees west, 15 degrees north. Oh, dang. Okay. Whoa, alright. Uh-huh. Okay, it has it over. Let me just double check that. Around 80 west, 15 north. Dang. Okay, how the heck? Alright, somehow the system meanders all the way over here. That's not great. Okay, why does it do that? Man, it just never gains latitude and it dips to the south for a moment. Whoa. That's an interesting run, and I believe it has it becoming a major hurricane here. Yes, becomes a Category 3 there. Interesting, it doesn't even get close to Jamaica on this run. This would become more of a problem. Let's see, this was more likely in line with some of those European runs, if I show those again. Yeah, this is most likely in tune with some of those European runs. It takes it all the way over here. Remember, the Hurricane Center forecast cone is roughly right in here by that point. It keeps it to the west by then, so that's an interesting thing to see there. So it's more likely to get closer to Cuba and the Cayman Islands and eventually on towards the Bahamas and potentially Florida there if that solution verifies. So that is something we need to be watching closely. Now, in terms of wind shear, things like that, I will go through it. starting off with the next 24 hours, and let me pull up this right here, seeing how vertically stacked it is. Um, okay, this has it a lot better than it actually is, I think. Anyways, though, looking in around 24 hours from now, seeing how that's doing. Let's see, still a decent amount of northwesterly shear there. In terms of dry air, not a whole lot of dry air at all, really. Going through our 48, seeing how that's doing. Looks like it's slightly drier there off towards the west, still getting hit by some westerly, northwesterly wind shear. Going now to our 72. Looks like it's overall more moist by then, but there are some pockets of drier air. Shear there getting hit by some northerly wind shear by then. And then by hour 96 here, day 4, you can see some of that dry air on the northwestern side. Right in here, mid-level dry air. Shear does lower. It's in that moderate to low category. And then let's see here. Beyond that, though, then it gets very moist. So it develops a core, battles that, and shear is incredibly low. So that's when we could see a very powerful storm out of this. It does have it. Okay, let me see. Is that 955 millibars? I believe so, yes. Okay. So it does continue strengthen it all the way to the end of that forecast period. Shear, incredibly low. Yep, and the steering there takes it to the southwest even. Okay. This is an interesting model run on it. This is kind of a concerning trend. I don't think the last model run showed that at all, did it? Kind of, but man, it is uptrended, and it moved further towards the west. Now, looking at the HAFS B model run on this, oh dang, okay, wow, alright, it's both of them really doing that, it looks like. Yeah, that's an uptrend, alright. Becomes a major hurricane there. So now let's discuss the system and what it looks like. Okay, so starting off here, right now how it's looking, there's a lot of dry air there, as you can see. So quite dry right now, and some harsh westerly wind shear as we've been seeing. But if we go forward now into hour 24 on the system, getting more vertically stacked, less dry air, wind shear still being quite harsh. By hour 48, struggling to stack there. That's bad here, as you can see, where the actual center is versus the mid-level center. Getting some decent shear there. Yep, high westerly wind shear and drier air from that western side. Then if we go towards hour 72, this is day 3 at this point. More stacked, less wind shear by that point, still some dry air on that northwestern side. May try to absorb it, may try to shield against it. A lot of dry air there on that northwestern side, though. This is day 4. You can see that mid-level dry air on here. Wind shear, though, is starting to dip some. Then if we go to the final frame of this forecast here, seeing how good is the environment, nearly pristine there. Very low wind shear. I would like to see the parent runs on this, but I don't think they're out just... Oh, okay, they are out. So let's take a look at the environment. Perfect. Well, it is perfect there at the end there. So if you extended this forecast, would likely become even stronger. And I believe the same is going to be true for the HAFS B run. Yep. Yeah, but just take a look at how far to the west it moves. Doesn't really have any rainfall impacting Hispaniola on this run. This would be a concern to some of these other areas like Nicaragua, Honduras, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, the Western Bahamas, and Florida. All should really be watching this system. Now, the HWRF model run does have it meandering more to the north. Let's see here. Does this show as much information? Yes, it does. Okay. I can briefly discuss this system and what it wants. So it does show that shear there, where the system is its low-level center versus its mid-level center. And taking a look at a sounding here. Yeah, very dry air, shear there from the westerly wind shear. Going out to hour 24, though, it tries to improve. It's more moist, but still it's not vertically stacked due to some of that wind shear on the northwestern side. Hour 48, it's getting better, still sheared, though. Yep, northwesterly shear there. More moist, though. By hour 72, we can start seeing some of that dry air on that northwestern side by Jamaica. Overall drier mid-level air there, and still some westerly shear. Now by hour 96, that's when it's trying to become a major hurricane, and overall conditions are improving. Okay, and it doesn't want me to see this, does it? Nope. Okay, let me try and do this then. Yes, shear is much lower by then. And by the end of that forecast period, becoming a major hurricane just to the west of Haiti. Doesn't really want me to see it. There we go. Shear is not pristine, at least on this model run. And lastly, we can take a look at the HMON model run, which has the system blowing up to potentially a Category 5, looks like. It has it as a Category 4 there, but with the pressure of a Category 5. We can look at this system. Can't really look at the environment. Overall, remaining sheared there. Takes a while to start stacking. Takes a good 2.5 days to stack there. Becomes a major hurricane there, and then eventually a Category 4 or 5 to the southwest of Jamaica there. So we're starting to see that shift towards the west. Let's see here. Will Melissa become a hurricane? Well, looking at the Google AI Ensemble members here. Let's see. So at one point in time here, around, this would be around 44 out of 50 Ensemble members have it becoming a hurricane. That's around a 90% chance that it will become a hurricane. So yeah, it's fairly likely to become a hurricane. Is there a new tropical or subtropical disturbance? Yes, there is. Ooh, a lot of new people watching. I do want to discuss some of these super ensemble members, these clusters here. Now remember, if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. If you're liking these kind of updates, be sure to subscribe. It really helps out a lot. And I do want to say thank you all so much for 3.5 thousand subscribers. Cannot believe I reached that. Not too long after the 3,000 mark as well. So let's touch on the super ensemble members here, the grand ensemble members here, showing where it's expected to go. Anywhere highlighted in blue, there's at least like a 5% chance that it will be within 150 kilometers of your location, the center at least, which generally means like what probability you're going to see impacts from this system. That's pretty much what it means. Again, impacts could happen well outside of 150 kilometers, but generally that's probably the mark there. So as you can see, this whole area here highlighted in blue, there at least a 5% chance of seeing impacts. So that does include parts of the Dominican Republic, of course Haiti, the south, or really majority of the Bahamas there, parts of Cuba, and then also parts of, as you can see here, northeastern Honduras and northeastern Nicaragua there in that as well. Now, if we get towards some of these higher colors, some of those higher percentages, such as the green here, up to 30% chance, generally highlighted roughly in this area here, roughly around a 30% chance of seeing impacts there, a third there. So, of course, Jamaica, Haiti, the southern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, southeastern Cuba in that. Then there's some areas here highlighted in that 50% chance of seeing impacts, which does include Jamaica and Haiti. But again, though, there is still the possibility it just meanders west and does one of these maneuvers. But overall, the consensus does have it moving towards Jamaica there. Okay. Whoa, alright, this is, dang, okay. Hi guys, looks like we're seeing people from Jamaica in the live chat now. So now let's discuss some of the Jamaica impacts from the system. Let's touch on some of the model runs first. I would like to discuss that. The American run, nothing for Jamaica, just speeds off towards the northeast, but that's more of an outlier. The Canadian run here does get very close to Jamaica there, but doesn't really impact it too severely there. It mainly threatens the Cayman Islands there on this run, but rainfall will be a concern for Jamaica there. No direct impacts, at least on this run. Looking at the European run now, this is the concerning one. It does have it becoming a hurricane by the 24th. This would be by Friday. Meanders towards the southwest or south of Jamaica there as a major hurricane, stalls for several days before slamming into Jamaica as a Category 3 or Category 4 hurricane, before blowing past it and headed towards Cuba and the southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands. So on this run, it does have Jamaica getting slammed by a major hurricane. This would be worse than Gilbert if this verifies. So yes, because of the rainfall, in addition to the wind impacts, Gilbert was wind and rain, but majority of wind. Now this is terrible wind in combination with catastrophic rainfall rates. But again, it is very uncertain. This could be a catastrophe for Jamaica, or it could be nothing. So again, there's just so much uncertainty here. Going back to the forecast cone, though, I do want to discuss the impacts over the next 5 days. Beyond the 5-day range, this is going to be increased. I do want to just reiterate that these impacts are going to go higher. But over the next 5 days, this would be through, let's see, today is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, through at least Sunday nights. These are the impacts that you could see in Jamaica. The entire island should see at least marginal impacts from the system. The eastern portion should see at least slight impacts, and that's going to be in the form of rain. And the far eastern parts of Jamaica could see moderate impacts in the form of very heavy rainfall, and flash flooding will be a concern. Now, let's discuss let's discuss more of the models here. So, European run becoming an absolute catastrophe for Jamaica there. The German run just stalls near Hispaniola there, doesn't really do too much there. As you can see, it's a lopsided system, no rain there at all for there. Now let's touch on these Ensemble members. European members, some of them slam into Jamaica there as a major hurricane, but some of them meander to the west of Jamaica, some of them meander towards the east, so again, it's uncertain as to where it's going to go. Here's a look at kind of the fork in the road it's going to reach. Over the next 3 days or so, I'd say, that's when it's going to reach a fork in the road. Does it move towards the northeast, off towards Hispaniola? Does it meander more to the west, towards Central America? Or does it meander towards Jamaica and Cuba? Again, over time, we're going to have a better idea. I'm going to continue posting updates, so I want to make sure, if you're in Jamaica, if you're in any of these areas, be sure to subscribe to stay up to date, as I will be posting more updates. So again, this is the European Ensemble members here, where it's expected to go. Now let's see, how does this look? Probability of things. Alright, okay. Now, I do want to discuss the rainfall forecast over the next, let's do 7 days or so. This is from the German run here. Jamaica doesn't get a whole lot. Some areas get like no rain. Some areas get up to 100 millimeters of rain. This is the low-end scenario. This is if the system just decides to stall by Hispaniola, doesn't do really anything for you all in Jamaica, and it stays a sheared mess. That's the low-end solution. Another low-end solution is the American run here. Just speeds off towards the northeast, towards Hispaniola there. Rainfall only around, in parts of Jamaica there, only around up to 100 millimeters of rain possible. Now, looking at the worst case scenario, if the system decides to stall over Jamaica as a major hurricane there. Some areas here, let's go to the 7-day rain, and let's actually do the 7-day rainfall totals. For parts of Jamaica here, some areas getting up to 1,000 millimeters of rain for parts of eastern Jamaica. Kingston around 630 millimeters of rain. Parts of central Jamaica around 400 to 500 millimeters of rain. In eastern Jamaica, only around 100 millimeters of rain. So as you can see, there's a wide variety of possibilities. Maybe 50 millimeters, maybe 1,100 millimeters of rain. So it is very uncertain as to what kind of impacts could happen in Jamaica. So again, stay up to date, keep monitoring the system, have a plan in place just in case the system does become a catastrophic threat to Jamaica. But overall, you do have time to prepare. You do have at least another 2 to 3 days of nothing really happening for portions of Jamaica here. Like if we look at the European run here, generally the outer bands don't really start approaching until probably Friday morning. So you do have at least another 2 to 3 days of just nothing really happening. And use that time to just have your plan in place, get supplies ready, just be prepared for the system to become a really big concern. So, some of the questions there, any threat for Jamaica? Yes, there is going to be a guaranteed threat for Jamaica. The question, though, is how severe are those impacts going to be? Some of these areas here in Jamaica there in that marginal category, the entirety there, over the next 5 days should see at least marginal impacts in the form of wind and rain. Although these rain impacts on the eastern portions of Jamaica there in that slight category and parts of southeastern Jamaica in that moderate category. So again though, this system Melissa could pose at least a moderate threat to Jamaica over the next 5 days, but this will likely go up over the coming days. So I do want to reiterate though, I am going to be posting on social media here, various social media platforms on the threats on this system. If you have Twitter or X, you can follow me on @hurricane_chase. That's where I will be posting more updates on Jamaica and the Caribbean there, what kind of impacts they could see. On YouTube, you're already watching me on YouTube, or maybe some of you all are watching me on X. Let me just check. How many of you all are watching me on X? Not a whole lot. There was a question briefly about the Cayman Islands. Cayman Islands, nothing really concerning there over the next 5 days, although they could see impacts beyond that. And they could see major impacts after that. Again, it's uncertain though. But I do want to briefly touch on this, again, the social media platforms I'm on, so that way you can see, you can join and or look at the latest updates on the system. So I do have an Instagram account @HurricaneChaserChase there. If you have Instagram there, you prefer that. Discord, my Discord is discord.gg/chasestorm. If you have Facebook or Blue Sky, search up cyclone tracking, and you should see my my profile picture there. Again, I will continue to be posting updates on this system. So let's see here. Again, okay, let's answer some questions about some of these areas. If you have any questions about specific areas in Jamaica that you'd like to know, just let me know in the chat. But yeah, it could be worse than Gilbert and Ivan, and it could just be nothing. So I'm being honest on that. We're not sure this far out. What about Florida? I do want to discuss that. Someone asked about Florida. Nothing expected in the next 5 days in terms of impacts. There's around a 1% chance some parts of South Florida there could see impacts. Just over a 1% chance. Mainly if you're in the southern Florida Peninsula, you should still watch the system. Some of these models are now taking it more to the west, and that would pose more of a concern to Florida there if it just keeps going towards the west there. So really that is worth watching. Let's see here. Sonia Rooms. Okay, let's look at that. And I see you guys asking questions about Kingston and the Cayman Islands. I will get to that in a moment, okay? Don't worry. I answer the questions in order there. So let me see where this is. I'm going to search this up real quick just so I can answer your question. Where's this? Is that a place there? I don't see that. Okay, I don't see that as a location. So let me go to the next question there. Next location. Kingston. Alright, Kingston here. In terms of rainfall here over the next 7 days, on the American run, this is the run if the system goes, American run here, this is the run if it just plows through Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, goes off towards the northeast there. Hispaniola, or Kingston, only gets around 30 to 40 millimeters of rain. Yes, not that bad, right? That would be the best case scenario if it just goes off there. Another great scenario for y'all in Kingston if it just stalls near Haiti. Only 10 millimeters of rain for Kingston over the next week. Not really bad at all. Now, the worst case scenario, which is becoming a little bit more likely, is if the system meanders towards the west and stalls near Haiti. Stalls near Jamaica. Rainfall in Kingston could be up to 600 millimeters of rain over the next week. That is bad, alright? Yes, more of the models are taking it towards the west. Now we have a question about the Cayman Islands. And Kingston here is highlighted in an area of slight impacts over the next 5 days. So some slight flooding is going to be possible in Kingston over the next 5 days, but that's likely going to get worse and worse if we go on to like 7-day range. We do have a question about the Cayman Islands. No threats really expected over the next 5 days, but that is likely going to change over the next day or two, because they could be hit over the next week. If it meanders on the western side of that cone, they could be getting impacted by a major hurricane. And as we looked at earlier here, some of these model runs are starting to shift more and more to the west. If we look at the zoomed out look at, oops, sorry about that. If we look at the zoomed out look here on Melissa, you see it meanders more to the west there. Now, remember, guys, I was telling you earlier how the American run wants it to go off towards there, Hispaniola. The German run wants it to just meander over here. And how the European run has it going right over here, stalling near Jamaica, and then going that direction. This run is so far to the south and west, becoming a major hurricane, and it has this whole area to rapidly intensify, and then it could become a Category 5 near the Cayman Islands on this run, or it could plow towards Central America. So there's so much uncertainty with the system. But again, Jamaica, you're kind of in the center here of impacts. If the consensus of the American run starts canceling out, it gets closer to you. If this run starts canceling out, it starts getting closer to you. So really, Jamaica, you should be watching this storm very closely over the next few days. Again, we will have a better idea over the next 3 days, because that's when it's going to reach that fork in the road as to what it will do. Again, all the models are kind of varied like this, I'd say. Yep. Kind of like this. It's going to reach that fork in the road in around, I'd say, 24 to 72 hours is when it's going to try to make its decision as to where it will go. Is it going to go towards the northeast? Is it going to go towards the north? Is it going to go to the northwest into Jamaica? Or is it going to go to the west, away from Jamaica there, but then swing towards the Cayman Islands and Cuba? Again, very uncertain this far out. Let's see. So the Cayman Islands, at least on these runs here, nothing really over the next. Oh, and then the next week, I forget that does actually increase there. Anyways, though, Cayman Islands, European run, even the most western run, at least on this thing, over the next 5 days to a week, only around 50 millimeters of rain. You guys have more than enough time to prepare. Okay, just stay up to date. I will continue to be posting things on social media about the system. Geez. Okay, hold on. Let me just take a look here. Wow. Okay. Again, thank you all so much for joining the stream. If you are in Jamaica, if you're really anywhere in this in this cone, and you want to stay up to date to tropical cyclones, really anywhere, if you ever have been hit by a tropical cyclone or you're in an area that's prone to tropical cyclones, be sure to subscribe to the channel as I do updates here, and you'll see thumbnails that will highlight areas that should be watching the system. And if it's not in your area, just don't have to watch it. But if there's an area that's highlighted, you can stay up to date here on this channel. I will be doing more streams about this over the coming days. Let's see, what is the biggest cone you've ever seen? Probably this right here, how much of a circle it is. This is very large here. There's a lot of possibilities as to what the system could do. But we could see this cone start shifting more and more to the west here. I do want to pull up more on here in terms of the trends. This is not good for Jamaica here. As you can see, the trend has continued moving more and more to the west there, and it makes a sharp western curve by the time it nears Haiti and moves towards Jamaica. Oh boy, European run, 18Z run has it stalling near Jamaica. Let's take a look. Oh boy, yeah. Just doesn't move near Jamaica. Now this run may be better. It's more similar to the German run. But in terms of total rain, oh man, okay, not that great. Oh man, okay, that's like 500 millimeters plus of rain for eastern Jamaica. Yeah, so not really that much better than this run. Still, it's not a major hurricane hitting Jamaica directly, at least. Well, okay, yeah, I mean it's more but it starts moving to the south for some reason after that, so that's not great. See, what's the steering flow? Does it say it on here? No. Okay. Man, alright, so yeah, it just stalls there. That's not really great at all. I did want to touch on the consensus, though. Again, you can see how pretty much the darker colors are the more recent runs. So as you can see, the more earlier runs just had it, let me use a different color, had it going this way kind of, and then out to sea there. But these two latest runs have been shifting more and more to the west, now making landfall in Jamaica as potentially a major hurricane there. That's the general consensus, though. Again, it could go all the way off towards the east here. Like, for example, the easternmost run has it going towards the Dominican Republic, out to sea like that. The westernmost run has it going all the way towards Nicaragua and likely dissipating. There's a wide variety of solutions there. Some of these more likely solutions, though, take it towards the Cayman Islands and then goes out to sea. Some of these other ones take it towards the Haiti-Dominican Republic border, goes out to sea there. And some of these more likely scenarios, this black run here, this black line towards Jamaica there. It could go this way, and it could go this way. Again, it's quite uncertain this far out, but we will have a better idea over the next 24 hours. Someone asked, will it be hard for cruise ships who are going in the Caribbean? Definitely, that's a great point. This is going to be a concern for the entire Caribbean, really, over the next week. So cruise ships will definitely be impacted. Tourism definitely going to be impacted. But really, just the people who live here, residents of Jamaica, Hispaniola, Cuba, the Bahamas, Cayman Islands, are also going to be potentially impacted over the next week. Let's see here. How's 97W doing? Let's see here if there's a recent scatterometer pass on it. Oh, and, okay, I'll touch on 97W quickly, and then we'll get on to, okay, that's doing good. So you don't really have a recent scatterometer pass, but the most recent one showed winds of around 45 miles an hour there. Alright, going back to the system, though, I do want to discuss a point that people will get at is like, well, it's expected to stall. If a storm stalls, it's going to bring up cooler waters and it's going to choke itself out. It's not going to be as much of a problem anymore. Some of these areas here, sea surface temperatures of around 30 degrees Celsius. Like, let's talk about, for example, Nicaragua. Very warm waters, 30 degrees Celsius, but the waters aren't warm with depth, so it just brings up cooler waters and it kind of chokes itself out. Now, these areas are also 30 degrees Celsius of water temperatures, but if you notice, there's a lot more of this tropical cyclone heat potential, or pretty much oceanic heat contents, all around Jamaica there, and some areas are incredibly high. So if it stalls in this region, it isn't really going to have much trouble for many days. It can sustain a major hurricane. Again, most of the time, like storms like Beryl, it was never a concern because it was just moving so fast. This system, it is a factor, a major factor in its intensification. See here, yes, this is bigger than the Fengsheng live stream. I did want to say thank you all so much for, let's see, okay. Okay, it says that. Guys, was there an advertisement or anything? I'm not sure how this works. All right. So, again, on this system here, let's see, what was I going to mention? Let's see, yes, bigger than the Fengsheng live stream. I really appreciate all your support. Remember, guys, if you are new, be sure to subscribe to the channel because we do discuss these storms and other storms like it. And other storms that do impact, for example, Jamaica, storms that impact Haiti, all those areas. All right. Let's see, next question there. Or, Typhoon Lover says it's my exam tomorrow. Yes, I have a calculus exam tomorrow. That's going to be fun. But first, really prioritizing this system. I'm confident on that exam, but right now we're prioritizing the system that could be threatening Jamaica. Let's see, Zlender mentions a very good point. A tropical storm can be deadlier than a major hurricane. Again, such as the German run here. The German run only wants a tropical storm by Hispaniola there. Nothing too big there. Not even a hurricane on this run. But if we look at the forecasted rainfall totals, some of these areas could see rainfall rates or rainfall totals of over 700 millimeters of rain. and some accumulations just offshore, 900 millimeters of rain. Catastrophic rainfall totals in those areas. Now, I do want to discuss, what's the extreme forecast here showing in terms of rain? Okay, yeah, record-breaking rainfall south of the Dominican Republic, and then, of course, into parts of Hispaniola. Alright, so now I do want to discuss the rain thunder here, kind of showing what it's expected to do. This is the European run, and this kind of shows how much rain is falling every hour or so, the rainfall rates. And let's go forward in time on this run, okay? Very broad system, and we're going into now Wednesday morning. Nothing really impacting Jamaica. It's a nice day. Maybe some stray showers or thunderstorms. Nothing too bad though. And then, oops, sorry. And then we go forward in time even more. Some of those stray showers, thunderstorms may be impacting Jamaica on Wednesday or tomorrow evening. Some mainly around Kingston, potentially towards the west. And then we get towards Wednesday night. Nothing really impacting Jamaica then. Clear day there, clear night. And then we can see, though, the system's starting to approach more. And let me pull up this. Yep. I'm starting to get closer. Now, as we go further in time here, this is Thursday morning now, Thursday afternoon. And then we get towards Thursday evening. You can see now some of those showers are starting to impact parts of northeastern Jamaica there. And some of those heavier showers are off towards the east. Now we go further in time, though the system is still lopsided. But look, some of those thunderstorms are now just stalling over eastern Jamaica there. This is overnight Thursday into Friday morning, just stalling there, some thunderstorms. This is now Friday morning, still thunderstorms going on. And then it doesn't really take a break at all. This is Friday nights, still thunderstorms going on there. Even into Saturday morning, thunderstorms are still going on for eastern Jamaica there. You can see now the core of this system getting closer to Jamaica then, at least on this run, starting to get better organized. Even now into Sunday morning, thunderstorms are still stalling over eastern Jamaica. And now the system starts wobbling towards the west, towards Jamaica there. Is this the... Yes, okay. Oh, dang, and then this... Okay, sorry. The run is kind of... Okay, I don't know how I can fix this. Let's see here. And okay, yeah, this is going to be the most recent run, but then this is the run where it slams into Jamaica there as a major hurricane there. This is on Monday already, so that's the latest run. How do I pull up an earlier run? Is what I'm wondering, because I know that there's got to be a way to pull up, an older run of the European run. Doesn't seem like it though on here. Anyways, though, so you can see some of these rainfall rates, 90 to 100 millimeters an hour, or even over 3 hours. Very heavy rainfall rates approaching Jamaica there. This is on Monday, and then on Tuesday, next Tuesday, slams into Jamaica as a major hurricane there. All these areas in pink receiving very devastating rainfall totals. It moves across Jamaica, but then leaves the area fairly quickly. It's going to be then gunning it finally after stalling over it for such a long period of time. Moves off towards Cuba, and then off towards the northeast there. So again, this is just one scenario, though. There's a lot that can happen with it, and where it will go. Thelma, what about Thelma? Dang, okay, well, okay guys, I guess I'll show this to you all. The latest consensus is now coming out. You can see now it's kind of uptrended a bit. More of the models want it to become a major hurricane. So I feel like that the Hurricane Center is going to start bumping up that forecast. But yeah, take a look at this. Some of these members want it to become a Category 5. Would not rule that out at all. I'm kind of curious how they got there. Oops, okay. Alright, but again though, here's the consensus, and let's take a look at some more of the consensus. Like what are they showing? What are specific Ensemble clusters showing? Things like that. All right, let's see, where do I go? Ensemble viewer, let's take a look at which one. Is it Super Ensemble member? Yes. So here's a look at where it's expected to be here and what areas could see impacts and when. Pretty much if you're highlighted in blue there, you could see you could be seeing impacts at whatever time frame I'm saying, okay? In terms of like wind impacts from a hurricane or whatever, this would be on the 22nd. 22nd is going to be Wednesday. This is Wednesday morning. This is Wednesday night. Thursday morning, Thursday night, Friday morning, Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night. This would be Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday morning, Monday night. And then as you can see beyond that, so you can see generally where the ensemble start taking it. Ensemble mean there. This is, you see just towards Jamaica, stalls just to the south, delivering very bad rainfall rates for Jamaica. It's really only the GFS there, that green line that speeds off towards the northeast. Majority of them stall right next to Jamaica. Now let's take a look at the ensemble means here, showing what each kind of member wants out of the system. Each model here. The red there is the European. That little like the pure green one is going to be the American, and that slightly green one is going to be the Canadian run. So you can see the rightmost one is going to be the American, the center one is the European, and the left one is the Canadian on where they take the system. See, all three of them get very close to Jamaica there. All three of them have a possibility of it moving over Jamaica. And then some of them, they're moved more to the west. Now let's take a look at some of these ensembles, or like specific ones. This is the American ensembles, now showing how strong of a storm it will get. See, a majority of them try to go towards Hispaniola instantly, although some of these move towards Jamaica there as possibly a major hurricane. Some of them, one of them actually just pulls a U-turn over Jamaica there. Then some of them get very close as nearly a Category 4, nearly Category 5 strength system. That's over the next week. Now let's take a look at these European ensemble members, because take a look at how far to the west they're now taking the system. But some of them, like 3 of those members, slam into Jamaica as a major hurricane, and even another one after that. Another one of those members later in time slams there. I do believe that this is the more likely scenario, it moving more to the west. We can take a look at the Canadian run. Now this isn't as great of a model, but we can see what it wants. Some of those members stall over Jamaica, some move to the west. One of those goes towards the Carolinas and then off towards Virginia. And now looking, okay, this one doesn't run. Now this is the trend over the last 4 runs here. The darker the color, the more recent of a run it is. So you see that light color there, that's the easternmost member, that's the oldest run. And as you can see, as we got in more and more closer in time, look at that, closer and closer to Jamaica. If we go further in time here, look at that, the most recent one there, just to the west of Jamaica there, which would still be delivering very bad impacts to Jamaica if that did verify. And now looking at all runs here, you can see the consensus over time. Alright, now total density of where it's expected to go, again I showed this map here, could go as far south as Nicaragua, and as far west as Cuba, and then Florida. Could go as far east as the Dominican Republic. So a lot of areas need to be watching this system. Do you see any turning to the north as of yet? Let's look at the latest satellite imagery here. Nope, not yet. Here, if we look at where it's been tracking, it looks like it's wobbled a little bit to the south. Hasn't really been doing much north movement. Someone mentions we cannot take a Category 5 in Jamaica right now. Well, I don't think that they'd want to take even a major hurricane or a hurricane at all. Let's see. What website is that? That is Tomerberg's website here, polarwx.com. It's a great website for looking at ensemble members, things like that. It's a great website. Do you think this can go into Nicaragua? Oh, definitely. As in, like, it's a possibility. Some of these have at least a 5 to 10% chance of it going towards Nicaragua and Honduras there. So some of these members go more to the west. And as we've seen recently, some of these models are starting to shift more and more to the west. If I pull up this one, for example, look at that, going more towards Nicaragua there. And looking at this, what's the current steering direction? Still to the west. So it continues moving west after this model run. Now I do want to pull up something because this is, oh dang, okay, this is gone. This is big, all right. Let me pull up one of these experimental model runs and seeing what they're showing. Here, I'll pull this up on stream. Right, where is it? I believe it's going to be, is it this? Which one do I click? I think it's, nope, wrong one, sorry about that. Recent models, I think that's why I select, yep, okay. Now let's take a look at the HAFS multi-model here on what it wants. Okay, that only goes out so far. Okay, yeah, because more of the runs being loaded in. Ooh, and that other system near the Azores Islands tries to become something subtropical almost. See, this run has it continuing moving off towards the west. There is a very powerful hurricane. How low is the pressure in that? Let's see here. How strong of a storm does it get on this run? 923 millibars. Wow, so a category 5 on this run. Very impressive. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. And what about this most recent run? How low of a pressure? 923. Oh, wait, sorry. That's the same one. Let me go to the more recent one here. This hasn't fully loaded and already 930 millibars. Wow, okay, this may get to the 910s. This is going to be very interesting to see, and it is coming out as we speak. All right, let's see. Can I select a storm and look at it more closely? Will this work? Yep, you can see where it is there, but it doesn't go out as far. Okay. So let me go back. All right. So again, a Category 5 really cannot be ruled out with this system. All right, let's look at some of these other questions here. Ooh, Tropical Storm Selim. Okay, or Tropical Depression Selim. All right, that's interesting. Hi, Damien. It's rain they won't be able to take from the European. Earlier today was showing nearly 24 inches of rain of parts of Jamaica because of it slowing down. Some areas could see up to 48 inches of rain or higher. Now, I do want to ask, those in Jamaica, do you all use inches or do you all use millimeters? Let me look up. Alright guys, do you all prefer millimeters or inches when I'm talking about rainfall for those from Jamaica? Inches? Wow, okay. Sorry guys, I'm so sorry about that. I did not realize that. Okay. I thought it was millimeters. My bad. Okay. So here, guys, I'll explain it more in inches. Okay. Thank you all so much for letting me know about that. All right. Um. So again, talking about the three big scenarios. There's four mainly, but the three big ones that I can show on rainfall rates. There's the GFS run, the American run is what it's called, pretty much. Speeds off towards the northeast, doesn't even get close to Jamaica. That run gives parts of Jamaica there over the next week. Looks like about an inch or two of rain, maybe 3 inches of rain. Not really much at all, right? That's not a concern at all. But if we go now to the German run of the system, let me see if I can, wait, where'd it go? Oh yeah, this one, okay. If we now show the German run on the system, stalls just near Haiti there, doesn't really impact Jamaica there. German run, even less. Some areas don't even get an inch of rain, maybe max again of 3 inches. Not bad at all. Kingston, like no rain at all. That's another scenario. Now, if we go to the European run, where it starts stalling near Jamaica and becomes a major hurricane, slams into Jamaica, that's another scenario, and those rainfall totals are much higher. As you can see here, some areas in western Jamaica maybe only about 3 to 4 inches. Parts of central Jamaica up to 18 inches of rain. Kingston maybe 24 inches of rain. Parts of northeastern Jamaica up to 40 inches. Some areas I believe were nearing 43 inches of rain as a possible maximum, looks like. So yeah, some of those areas could see devastating rainfall totals. Let's see here. Richie asked about the Indian Ocean. I briefly do want to touch on that since there is going to be a threat for the, like if we show this, there is a system impacting India and another one that's going to impact India and a system threatening Madagascar. Let me just briefly go over this and we'll get back to that system. Let's see here. So going to this, going to the Indian Ocean. Looking at this, so we have, I believe, 92A over here, not doing much. 93B may try to develop in the Arabian Sea, but we do have another disturbance that may try and impact southeastern India there in around a week or so by the 28th. And looking at the Indian Ocean here, we've had this system which has uptrended quite a lot there, Chenge, done a lot better than models have expected. And it does have it meandering very close to Madagascar, and it does have it making a landfall in Tanzania there as possibly a tropical depression or tropical storm. So that's the current look at the Indian Ocean, and we also have, I forgot, 95S there. Meanders towards the west, doesn't really do a whole lot there throughout its life. So that's pretty much what's going on there. Let's see here. Yeah, we cannot take 180 mile an hour winds in Jamaica. Nope. Let's see what else. Oh yeah. What are the probabilities it becomes a hurricane, Category 5, whatever? On this here, if I show this to you all, around 16 of those 50 members have it becoming a Category 5. That's 16 out of like 50 different scenarios. That is around a 30% chance of it becoming a Category 5, at least on the Google AI Ensemble members. That's a third chance that it becomes a Category 5. And I know you all in Jamaica do not want to be dealing with a Category 5 with this system. So again, there's a 2/3 chance it doesn't. But there's a 2/3 chance it's at least a major hurricane, so really not that great. Odds are not in your favor right now. Just really gotta hope it curves away. Now, do you think this could be worse than Maria? Oh, definitely. In terms of rainfall rates, this could easily be worse than Maria if it stalls. This could be one of the worst storms ever in the Caribbean if the European run verifies. Now, there's a chance it goes off. Remember, there's multiple chances of what this system will do. Does it gun it off towards the northeast out to sea? Does it meander over here towards Jamaica? Or here, there's many scenarios here. Does it go off towards the northeast there? Doesn't really impact much. Mainly focuses its impacts on Hispaniola. Potentially major impacts for Hispaniola. Does it stall right next to the coast of Haiti there, delivering potentially major impacts to Haiti? Does it meander towards the west there, slams into Jamaica as a possible major hurricane, and then off towards Cuba? That would be major impacts in Jamaica and Cuba and the Bahamas. Does it meander towards the west there, becomes a Category 5 near the Cayman Islands, and then off towards Cuba? That's a scenario. Does it plow into Nicaragua and Honduras as a major hurricane? That's a scenario. All of these major impacts. So really, can't really avoid major impacts from the system. This could become a historic system. Again, we'll have more ideas as to what areas get potentially historical impacts. Let's see here. See, do you think National Hurricane Center will update to a major hurricane? No, they're not going to up that forecast that quickly. They're currently forecasting a peak of around, um, let's see here, 85 miles an hour. That's probably going to be up to 90 or 100 miles an hour, would be my best guess as in the next forecast. Just because of the models just increasing um, in intensity there. I would be kind of surprised if they maintain it at 85 miles an hour because I mean their certainty is increasing that it's going to become a stronger storm. Yes, Rolling Meng. Oh, and Lucy says, "Hey Chase. Hi guys. Thank you also. Oh, and guys, remember if you're liking the stream, be sure to subscribe. And if you have questions about your where you live or where your family lives, things like that, and you want to know about their kind of impacts that they could get, you could always leave those comments in the chat, and I will gladly answer. Um, yes, and guys, remember if you want to stay more up to date on weather in Jamaica, weather really anywhere else for tropical cyclones, be sure to subscribe so you can see more of these kind of updates where I'm able to answer all your questions, things like that. And I spend time trying my best here. And there will be another stream tomorrow, tomorrow night about this system as well. So remember, be sure to subscribe and be sure to like the stream as well if you're liking how I'm doing this. And if you have any feedback, you can always leave them in the chat on how I'm doing. But yeah, remember, Jamaica is currently under a tropical storm watch. Now, I don't think that that was necessary just yet because no impacts are really expected in the next 48 hours, but they could be getting into a hurricane watch over the next few days. Let's see here. Do you think that there's any chance in the whole wide world that this comes back and hits Puerto Rico? I like how you phrased that question. Oh man, one of these Ensemble members does this, so I can't rule it out entirely, but I'd say below a 1% chance that it even does that. Doesn't really seem like it's going to be impacting Puerto Rico as like a landfall. Again, it's yeah, like I don't really see that happening. There's like 0.01% chance of that happening. Let's see here. Yummer ask, how early do you think the rain will affect Jamaica? Well, Jamaica there in terms of rainfall here, if we take a look at the latest forecast here from the European run, this is the less extreme run. So on this run here, nothing really happening on Wednesday too bad, maybe some thunderstorms. Thursday starting to get closer, some more of those thunderstorms impacting it, and by Friday is when they'll start really getting some of those impacts. So you want to have your preparations kind of already completed by Thursday, or like start completing them on Thursday. Tomorrow, just stay aware of the forecast. On Thursday, if things are starting to look like they're going to be really worse for Jamaica, then start finishing your preparations. Make sure you have supplies ready, like food, water, all that stuff ready, just in case the system comes your way. If you want to beat out crowds in getting some of those supplies. So yeah, by Fridays looks like when some impacts could happen, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all those days could see some impacts from the system. So just be ready for it to be a bad weekend for you all, at least. Let's see. It's been a while since a storm formed in the Caribbean. Yes. And of course, other countries. Let's see. Thank you guys for the compliments there. The nice stream. So when will Jamaica start getting impacts? Looks like at the earliest here on Thursday. Maybe some typical thunderstorms, whatever, on tomorrow. But Thursday maybe or mainly Friday, I'd say, is going to be the main day that you could start to see impacts from the system, more severe thunderstorms, things like that. Yeah, also some winds as well. Devil says you live in Jamaica, Portland. Okay, let me see where that is. I'll find it out. Portland, Jamaica. I'm guessing you're talking about this area. Somewhere in here? I'm not quite sure. But in this area, if we look at the model runs and what they want, the German run over the next few days really doesn't show a whole lot. Maybe an inch of rain over the next week. Maybe an inch to two of rain. American run, 2 inches of rain or so. But the European run, on the other hand, for your area, up to 37 inches of rain. So that goes to show the uncertainty that there is in this system. Um, See here, yeah, 2 to 3 days until impacts really impact. What is preventing this from curving into the Gulf? I can pull that up. Let's see here. Whoops, I did not mean to pull it up on there. I'll show you all on here. So looking at what the steering currents are, it's expected to meander towards the west there. There's this low here that's going to try and drag it north there pretty much. It's pretty much there's this weakness there's a ridge over the Gulf that's going to try to weaken some, but there's like also a weakness here that it's trying to meander towards the north. Eventually though there may be some sort of a low here that kind of, but look at how uncertain it is there. This is a weak out, and then there's this upper low there, this trough over the southeastern United States that just randomly started appearing now on the newest run. So it's uncertain. It could try to meander towards the Gulf, but generally looks like it's just going to get swung out towards the northeast. I think the jet stream is also blocking it. Yeah, it's trying to, at least. It's trying to. Again, okay, it doesn't really look like it's going to make it to the Gulf. It's going to try to swing to the northeast. Well, Alright, so thank you guys again so much for your support. Now, again, if you have any questions about your local area, leave them in the chat, and I will gladly answer. Let's see here. So, also, if you are liking this kind of content, be sure to like the stream. If you want to stay more up to date about this storm, be sure to subscribe, as I will have more updates over the coming days. Let's see some other questions. Yeah, some fronts may try to drag it out. Let's see what else. Yeah, stalling hurricane, a worst case scenario there for Jamaica. Is Melissa a girl or boy name? I believe it's a girl name. Yeah, I mean, 20 feet of rain, I don't think it's going to be that bad for Jamaica, but 4 feet of rain or higher, that's possible if this European run verifies. Let's see what else. Jamaica's biggest threats from Melissa is not only rainfall, but also hurricane winds and storm surge. Yes, yeah, it could come close to Jamaica as a hurricane, but for right now, we're going to be focusing on the rainfall threat. Over the next 5 days, their main threat is going to be rain, not really wind at all. It's going to get closer to wind impacts. Laugh Central asks, do you think that this will become a major hurricane? So about that, if I show you all the Google Ensembles here, major hurricane, out of 50 members, around, let's see, this would be around 35 members out of 50 of the Google AI members have it becoming a major hurricane. That's around a 70% chance that it becomes a major hurricane, at least on the Google AI members. So out of all of 50 scenarios that they're showing, around 70% have it becoming a major hurricane. That 30% are really the ones that are closer to Hispaniola, but those 70% are closer to Jamaica. So I do think it will become a major hurricane. It just has to meander towards the west. And again, guys, thank you all so much for over 100 people watching live. I was not expecting this at all today. Thank you all so much for your support so far. Let's see, yeah, the problem is, I see people mentioning, oh, upwelling may kill it, whatever. The problem is, Upwelling, if you all don't know, it's pretty much when, like a hurricanes use these warm waters as fuel. And imagine this as the sky right here, sky up here, and imagine this as the waters, pretty much. And those waters are warmer the closer you are up to the surface, and as you get farther and farther down below the surface, those waters start getting cooler. So typically, when there's a hurricane here, let's say like Melissa right over here, typically what happens is it brings up some of those cooler waters up towards the surface. You know, you have cold water down here and you have warm water up here, and it pretty much it cuts off the fuel. You know, hurricanes fuel or warm waters. Now, the problem is in the Caribbean, those warm waters extend very far deep here. All these whites and these reds are very high in oceanic heat content or tropical cyclone heat potential. Pretty much what that means is those waters are warm with depth, meaning that even if it stalls, that upwelling is only going to continue bringing warm waters up. It takes a while to finally bring cooler waters up there. What about the tropical depression in Taiwan? I have it as a tropical storm, winds of around 45 miles an hour. That's going to be meandering near Taiwan, mainly dissipating in the South China Sea, maybe seeing some impacts in Luzon, the Babuan Islands, and the Batanes Islands, but that's about it. All right, let's see what other questions here. So I'm very confused right now. Is it going to go west and hit Cuba or hit Jamaica? Left central, so pretty much it's uncertain this far out. It's gonna do what we call, you know, like a fork in the road, where it's uncertain as to what it will do. You know, models. There's something called the butterfly effect, where as you go farther out, things get more uncertain. Um, like small changes on what the system does, or like a low is stronger, a high is stronger or weaker, that will drastically change what happens with the system. And we'll have a better idea as to where it will go in the next few days. And thankfully, those few days, you know, Jamaica doesn't really get a whole lot. Tomorrow and on Thursday, not really getting a whole lot. So you guys have time to watch the system and prepare for it if it does decide to go away from you or if it does go towards you. So pretty much these scenarios, one of them is it goes towards Hispaniola, speeds off towards the northeast there. Not really any impacts for Jamaica, but very bad impacts for Hispaniola. Another impact is it stalls right near Haiti there. That would be devastating for Haiti. But not a whole lot for Jamaica. Another scenario is it strengthens into a hurricane or even major hurricane near Jamaica, slams into it, then goes off towards Cuba and the Bahamas there. That's another scenario, and that would be devastating for Jamaica, as well as Cuba and the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Another scenario is it just continues moving westwards, becomes a Category 5, and meanders near the Cayman Islands, Cuba, and then the Bahamas there, maybe even closer to Florida. Then another scenario is it just keeps moving west towards Central America there. So again, there's really 5 scenarios we need to be watching. Again, though, this black line there, that's the most likely one as of right now. But really anything can happen with the system. Right. Let's see. I don't understand on tropical tidbits the coordinates. Oh wait, is there a new area of interest in the Atlantic? Hold on. Let me see. Did they mark it? No. Okay. Pretty much there could be something subtropical trying to develop south of the Azores Islands. I can briefly touch on that right on here. See the Canadian run here? You see this little guy over here tries to become just a brief subtropical system, maybe threatens the Azores Islands. But yeah, that's just something to monitor. Yes, this is the biggest live stream, or this is even bigger than Regassa. This is probably one of my biggest live streams ever, so I really thank you all so much for your support so far. Want to know something funny I found about Melissa? What? One of them shows having, oh yeah, 878 millibars. That would be a record-breaking storm. So really, the ceiling is very high for the system. It could break records in terms of intensity. It all depends on its track, though. Let's see. Is there any possibility this gets winds of up to 200 miles an hour? That's possible. I don't think it's going to happen though. If some of these members get close to that, around 175 knots there, that's around, let me just double check. That's around, okay, yeah, that's 200 miles an hour. Some of these members here, around, let's see, one, two, or three of these members having it reaching 200 miles an hour. So three of these members at least break the record, maybe at least five of them. So there's like a 10% chance on this thing that it breaks records as a Category 5, which is quite impressive. So the ceiling is very high with the system. Can it curve all the way to Nicaragua, never hit land, and then make landfall in Cuba? If you mean, if I go back to this, if you're saying that it could do one of, like these, yes, it can. Yep, it's most similar to this red line right over here, towards the Cayman Islands. Is it headed for Jamaica? We're not sure. This far out, we're not really sure, but there is a decent chance it goes towards Jamaica. Here, this is pretty much a look at the five kind of scenarios that the system could do. One of them there, the most confident one, is moving towards Jamaica as a major hurricane, then off towards Cuba and off towards the northeast there. That's the currently like one of the most likely scenarios. Another one is it could meander near Haiti and a stall there and not really impact Jamaica that much. Just becomes a devastating impacts for Haiti there. Another scenario is it meanders south of Jamaica there, curves towards the Cayman Islands and towards Cuba there. That could become a Category 5, making landfall in the Cayman Islands or Cuba. Another scenario here would be it meanders more to the west towards Nicaragua and Honduras there as a major hurricane. That would be delivering a major blow over there. Another possibility is it just meanders towards the northeast, speeds off, and plows through Hispaniola. That would be devastating for Hispaniola. Let's see here. Cat 5 landfall in Jamaica would be really scary, yes. The fact that it's going to be stuck, yikes, yeah, stalling storms. Remember, the intensity doesn't matter as much as the rainfall does. And I'm also relieved that the United States has gotten a break from hurricane landfalls, yes. But unfortunately, Jamaica is going to get another, at least close call with this system. Yeah, 126 people watching this live. That's very good. That's, yeah, I'm kind of shocked by this. Thank you all so much for your support. Now, is there a chance that these models aren't taking into account the depth of the temperature of the water, maybe underestimating the storm? I don't believe so. I think they're doing a perfect job in analyzing the water depth and stuff like that. The main issue as to why some of these members don't show it being as strong is because they have land interaction. They're interacting with Hispaniola or Jamaica, but mainly Hispaniola there. That's why they have those weaker members. Those stronger ones, the waters, they're doing just fine with managing the waters. It's mainly an upper level environment that they're dealing with. So what do you think the peak will be, in your honest opinion? Well, the Google AI Ensemble members, they're showing a peak of around 110 knots. That's nearly a Category 4. In terms of, here, let's see. So I went with a high-end Cat 2 peak. That's currently my assessment, but I will likely up this in a forecast tomorrow. So just letting you all know there that I'm probably going to up that to a major hurricane. If it still looks like it's going to be a major hurricane, maybe nearing Cat 4, I am going to be upping my forecast. I was just staying conservative because this is like 5 to 7 days out. This is pretty inaccurate. It's this far out, so I'm staying conservative. But this could really become a Category 5. My prediction right now would be a Category 3. Category 3 to 4. Yes. Alright, good night, Lucy. Alright. Oh, Neri has, what is that? How many people is that? That is 150,000 people in southern Cuba. What would happen if, I don't think it would make landfall as that intensity, 200 miles an hour. If it makes landfall in southern Cuba as a Cat 5, that would be devastating. Ooh, Trig says, yes, we are in Jamaica and are very concerned about the amount of duration of rainfall. Yeah, I mean, up to 40 inches of rain could fall, up to an inch of rain could fall. Like, really, it's so uncertain as to the kind of impacts. But at least over the next 5 days, I'd be expecting the entire island to experience at least marginal impacts in the form of, thunderstorms, maybe some gusty winds. At least the eastern half experiencing slight impacts in the form of wind and mostly rain, more of a flooding concern, and the far eastern portion of Jamaica experiencing at least moderate impacts. More like it's more like a hurricane there, some decent flooding. Now, if we extended this beyond the 5 day range, those impacts would be in the major to extreme category, but because they're just in the 5 day range, they're only in moderate impacts. Nothing too big just yet. Okay, that's Dimitri. I see your I see your comment there. Here in Puerto Rico, you sneeze and lose power. Don't need this thing. And okay, I like that. That's true. Their power grid isn't that great. Um, yes, and I get that. Yeah. Fortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be impacting you in Puerto Rico. Maybe some rain, some stronger showers and thunderstorms. Nothing too bad though. But unfortunately, other areas are going to be hit. So you all likely lucked out on this system. But some of these other areas likely won't. Tacos, I don't think 220 miles an hour is going to happen with this. Not really with this. After Barrel, it took months for me to get back lights in Jamaica. I can't do this again, bruh. Yeah, unfortunately, there's always got to be another one. We nearly got away with a storm, without a storm in the Caribbean. Can you believe that? We nearly got away with it. But of course, there's always got to be that one. So now you all have to deal with this, unfortunately. What is the strongest Ensemble member? Let's see. In terms of pressure, the strongest one is 890 millibars. Yep, that's the strongest there, with winds of around 175 knots. So the strongest member is around 174 knots, so around 200 miles an hour. Seth asks, "Hi Chase, any update on 97W?" Nothing really to talk about on that system, but we can take a look. Just still sustaining some convection near the Sakishima Islands, just to the southeast of them. We can maybe look at radar imagery on that. See some light rain impacting parts of northern Taiwan. Nothing too severe though, but you can see a lot of rain impacting the Sakishima Islands of Japan. So that's going to pose definitely a flooding concern over there. Ooh, and how's Fengshen doing? That's could be better. Alright, back over here. Look at that, some rain already impacted. Oh, okay, parts of the Dominican Republic are already getting some of those outer bands. Oh, dang, and we already have a new forecast from the Hurricane Center, and they're sticking with 85 miles an hour, and they're nearly having it making a landfall in Jamaica. Ooh, okay. That's a shift to the west, all right. That is not great. Okay, I'm going to respond to the Hurricane Center there, just mentioning it there. And I'll show you all the update from the Hurricane Center when that comes out. Alright, let's see. So, let's see if they have a new update on the system. Oh, and I do want to real quickly check if this model run goes farther out just yet. Because it went out to 130 hours or so. Whoops, okay. I do want to see how far out this model run goes. Okay, looks like it now goes out entirely there. Let's see, reflectivity. 908 millibars, 907 millibar peak, nearly record-breaking Category 5 to the southwest of Jamaica on the latest HAF's multi-storm run. This goes out to 7 days, so it goes out longer than the others. But remember, the others were around the 950s in the 5-day range, so yeah, that's probably accurate there if you extended it. Let's see what the upper level pattern's looking like. Very favorable there. Whoops, that's, sorry, let me go to the actual thing here. Winds. How does this look? Okay, I'm just trying to figure out how to use this website a little bit more. Isn't really a whole lot helpful there. Is there just something that... Okay, maybe wind shear? How does this work? Oh, dang, okay, that looks... There's the storm. Very favorable environment where it's located there, so... Oh, okay. Anyways, the Hurricane Center, their update. Heavy rains and flooding expected over Hispaniola during the next couple of days. Now let's discuss the public advisory on the system. So winds are around 50 miles an hour, pressure is still 1,003 millibars. A hurricane watch is in effect for the southwestern peninsula of Haiti to the border of the Dominican Republic, and a tropical storm watch is in effect for the entirety of Jamaica. Interest elsewhere in Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Cuba should monitor the progress of the system. I would also recommend, if you live in the Bahamas or the Cayman Islands, to also be monitoring this, and even Nicaragua and Honduras should be watching it as well. Alright, here, so let's go over the forecast discussion on it. So Melissa continues to be under the influence of significant westerly vertical wind shear. The center of the storm appears to be exposed to the west of a cluster of very deep convection, and overall the system is not very well organized with poorly defined banding features. And if we show you all on here where the center is, you can see the center is located right around there. All the convection and thunderstorms all off to the east, so really not organized at all. Very sloppy system as of right now. Fortunately, though, that sloppy system is already impacting Hispaniola. Alright, going further on it, the advisory intensity is held at 45 knots, that's 50 miles an hour, in agreement with Dvorak classifications from TAF-B, though objective intensity estimates from UWCIMSS are somewhat lower. An Air Force Reserve Unit Hurricane Hunter aircraft is scheduled to investigate the tropical cyclone in a few hours and should provide a good intensity estimate. Melissa remains an asymmetric storm with most of the strong winds over the northeastern and eastern portions of the circulation. The system continues to move a little southwest of the previous track with an initial motion estimate of around 11 knots, that's like around 13 or 14 miles an hour. The track forecast for the next several days remains quite challenging. Melissa is likely to remain in a region of weak steering currents for most of this week. Once again, the GFS model looks like an outlier with a track across Hispaniola by this weekend, and most of the other guidance much farther south and west. The future track depends, among other things, on how strong and vertically deep Melissa will become while it is over the Caribbean, and how much a mid-level trough digs along the U.S. East Coast during the next 5 days. A stronger tropical cyclone would likely move more northward and northeastward than a weak system would. The new official forecast has shifted somewhat west of the previous one and is in good agreement with the dynamic model consensus and the FSU Supers Ensemble solution. The latest Google DeepMind Ensemble mean is just a little to the left of the official forecast. Water vapor imagery continues to show upper-level westerlies ahead of Melissa, and the shear is not likely to decrease over the next few days. The ship's guidance using the large-scale predictors from the European model indicates some relaxation of the shear in 3 to 5 days. The official intensity forecast, like the previous one, shows strengthening into a hurricane by the later part of the forecast period. This is in good agreement with the LGEM guidance. However, it should be noted that this is a low confidence intensity forecast. So I'm surprised they haven't upped it from 85 miles an hour. Key messages: Melissa is expected to produce heavy rainfall across portions of the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Jamaica through this weekend, bringing a risk of significant flash flooding and landslides. Hurricane conditions are possible in the southwestern peninsula of Haiti, where a hurricane watch is in effect, and a tropical storm watch is in effect for Jamaica. Preparations to protect life and property should be completed by Thursday. There is significant uncertainty in the track and intensity forecast of Melissa. Interest elsewhere in Hispaniola and Cuba should continue to monitor the latest forecast. All right, that is that. And now let's look at the forecasted cone of uncertainty there. Oh man, okay, that's stalling like crazy there. Okay, let's see how quickly is it moving? Over a day, how far does it move? 10 miles, 9.7 miles. 9.7 divided by 24. That is less than half a 0.4 miles an hour it's moving at that rate. That is incredibly slow, and that would be devastating for Jamaica. But as you can see, it wobbles to the west there, not really impacting the Dominican Republic or Haiti as much. It has shifted a lot more to the west. And you know what? Let's take a look at the archive on it, seeing how much it has shifted. Let's look at the forecast. Look at that, how much it's shifted over the west over the last few forecasts. That's concerning for Jamaica, right? Looks more likely it's going to continue moving west. And I mean, it's probably going to keep getting pushed more and more west if this trend continues. And looking at the probability of tropical storm force winds, let's look at that. Getting closer, moving more and more to the west there. So probabilities of tropical storm force winds are at least 40% chance for the southeastern tip of Jamaica there. So they have roughly the highest chance, along with southwestern Haiti, of getting tropical storm force winds. We can take a look at wind speeds, probabilities of hurricane force winds. Here. It looks like it's lowered a little bit here, but again, it's not doing a great handle of the system. And that's also getting a little bit closer to Florida and the Bahamas and Cuba, and that longer range, as well as parts of, parts of Nicaragua and Honduras getting close to. That's going to be interesting. All right, time to answer more of your questions. Yep, I'm so tired of the Caribbean. Yep. I'm actually mentally exhausted from this hurricane season, but don't worry, guys. You guys have been lucky, Puerto Rico, this time. I know that there was Aaron that impacted you all, but didn't get anything too big, which can't complain about that. Mr. Barrel, it took me months. Yep. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Yep. Let's see. Whoops. Sorry. Let me scroll down. Track shifted west. Yep. So what does this mean? Does this mean we'll have a Cat 5 now if it shifts west? It's possible. Category 5 is totally possible on the system. I can't rule that out. More likely a major hurricane could be near you. And I do want to mention, guys, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, as I do more of these updates. Oh, wow, whoa. Thank you guys for 27 subscribers so far. Like an additional amount. Thank you all so much for that. Let's see here. What else? Believes the barrier reef keeps it from coming this way. Okay. Yeah, that shift from the west is brutal there. Those in Jamaica, please stay safe. Yes, and of course I will continue to provide more updates over the coming days on this system. If Melissa makes landfall as a Category 5, this will make Melissa not only the first Category 5 to make landfall in Jamaica, but also the strongest in Jamaican history. Wow. Let's see what else here. Yep, untapped water. Lingering there for 4 days is really bad. No, hurricane warning, no warnings are in effect just yet. Let's see, I'm going through the questions, alright. Does that mean it's going to get into the more warmer waters in the western? It's waters are warm everywhere in the Caribbean. It's not just like, oh, is it gonna? I know it should be, but like it's like, oh, is it gonna go to warmer waters? And look at it. It's completely warm. It is bad in terms of how warm it is. 30 degrees Celsius, and it's warm with depth as well. You know, it gets deeper, those warmer waters, the more northwest it goes. So really bad. And if it gets over here, man, um, that would be really bad. Let's see, is there an update in its positioning? Yep, getting closer to those patches. If it stalls over there, that is going to be really bad. Yeah, 100. It briefly peaked at 141 people watching. That is insane. Thank you guys so much. I think this might. Whoa. Okay, hold on. This is 2,000 views so far. Let me see how many. Man, okay. Tomorrow I'm definitely going to be spending a lot more time doing a stream, but tomorrow I have an exam, so that's kind of why I haven't been able to, or I'm not going to be able to stream a whole lot longer. But I'm going to check real quick what is my most popular live stream, because this is one of them now. This is one of my most popular live streams, and I thank you all so much for that. Let's see, most popular live streams, and I'm already at 2,000 views. Whoops. Just curious. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's in 10th place for my most popular live stream ever, and it's only been 2 hours, which is very impressive. So if this were longer, this would probably be the third most popular live stream I've done, which means I'm probably going to do a lot more tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for your well wishes. Yes, guys, please give me well wishes. I'm doing calculus tomorrow, calculus exam. I need all the wishes I can get. Okay, thank you all so much. Yes, Grifter mentions a good point there. Start charging batteries. Yes, be sure you're all prepared for this system. You know, just get ready to do some minor preparations tomorrow. Just keep monitoring forecasts, things like that. Maybe if there's some furniture outside that you're a little bit worried about, maybe start bringing that in. Just get ready to have a plan, pretty much, because you want to enact that plan on Thursday, probably. So tomorrow, just start thinking, start planning. Okay, so start planning what you're gonna do if this storm continues looking like it's gonna go your way. Maybe start ordering some, or like going and buying some things, getting prepared. But remember, by Thursday you want to start preparing, like start enacting some preparations if it looks like it's still headed your way. Do you think this could be a Hurricane Wilma? Oh, in terms of intensity wise, it could. Southwest of Jamaica there, or even slamming into Jamaica, but we'll see. Yes, guys, thank you all so much. Um, Showed the current storm. Here it is. And here's a look at the my unofficial forecast cone, which it seems like this is going to get shifted a lot more to the west. It's quite interesting to see. Again, I am going to be posting more updates. What time are you on tomorrow? I will likely do it at around. Do you guys use Easter? Like, what time is it for you all? Do you all use? Is it Eastern Daylight Time? Because that's mainly for Hispaniola. I don't know if that's going to be the same for Jamaica. Is it like 10:50 p.m. for you all in Jamaica? 9:50 p.m. Okay, thank you guys. So tomorrow, it all depends. I will be posting an updates on. Yes, I am going to be posting an updates from. Let's see here. I'm going to be posting an updates on multiple social media platforms. I do want to reiterate this for tomorrow. Guys, if you have any of these social medias, I ask that you please try to follow me on one of them because that's where you'll see updates. If you have X, follow me on @hurricane_chase. I'm going to post that link to the chat here so you all can get that. That's my X account. And this is because this is where I'll be posting more about these cones and kind of seeing what kind of category of impacts you're going to be in, where the storm's going, that kind of stuff. And I will be posting more about model runs, things like that. Now on Facebook, it is cyclone tracking, and I will post that link there if you have Facebook there. And really, those are the two major social media platforms. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because you may be able to see my post on YouTube about this system. Now, in terms of live stream, in terms of the post of the cone, probably will be around, let's see, maybe 6 or 7 p.m. For you all. Yeah, for a cone, maybe 6 or 7 p.m. for y'all on YouTube or on any of the social media platforms. In terms of live stream, maybe 7 or 8 p.m. for you all. It all depends. I do have a club meeting for the meteorology department at my college, so I will try to get home as quickly as I can. Oh. Alright. So guys, I really was not expecting this amount of people to watch, so I really appreciate it. I'm going to be much more prepared for tomorrow, okay, to discuss this a lot more. Remember, if you haven't already, please subscribe, okay? As you will be able to see more of these updates. And if you think you're subscribed from like a previous stream, just double check, please. But yeah, discussing when the next stream will be. The next stream will obviously be tomorrow, okay, guys? The next stream will be tomorrow, and I will do it at around the same time. Again, though, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Just briefly touching Fengshen, moving towards Vietnam, 97W near Taiwan and the Philippines. Other systems that might be threatening areas, something threatening the coast of India, Chenghe moving towards Madagascar, and then on to Mozambique and Tanzania. But mainly Melissa is going to be the main story for these next few days. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Yes, I see you. I see you, Aston. Now, I do want to mention the top fans of this chat here. And I don't know really how it works, but the top fans there are number 3, STN there. I have seen him a lot in these live chats. Aston is also there as one of the top ones, and Ritsue is number 1 there. Thank you all so much for your support. This really means a lot, okay? I'm so glad I'm able to help thousands of you there in terms of being better prepared. You followed on X. Thank you so much, Grifter2023. Again, I will be posting more updates there. I'm curious if I can see what your account is just by seeing. You said you followed me. Is it Hefty? Is it Lewis? Andy? Okay, there's a lot of accounts there, but yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. Melissa coming to Florida? I don't think so. Again, I'll post more updates on that in the coming days. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next live stream. Stay